Hi, my name is Mark Bannin and welcome to the channel. Many people would have opened this video thinking, what the hell is this guy talking about? I've got to hear this. Well, this is not clickbait. Reading can be really damaging for you if you're not careful. Stick around to the end where I'll give you some great tips on how to absorb more information in a really effective way. In the meantime, hit that subscribe and bell icon below. That way you'll see more videos like this in your feed. So first, let me just quickly explain what leads to reading being damaging. Well, our brain is like a sponge. It creates and gives meaning to everything. The thing to bear in mind though, get it? Bear in mind, get it? The thing to bear in mind though is that the information being fed to our brain is already being filtered before it gets there. In phase one, our five senses do the best they can by pre-interpreting things into a familiar construct and sends that interpretation to the brain, a bit like a sub-processor in a computer. And yes, if you're listening to this in the year 2040, you probably have a sub-processor implanted in your brain already. So all this might just be a bit nostalgic. However, since we're almost in 2021, let's stick with those of you without cybernetic implants. In phase two, the mind takes that pre-interpretation and creates an internal narrative in the hope that to give it further meaning, to dig down, if you will. This internal narrative, this talk between different parts of your mind, goes on all the time and about everything that your five senses come into contact with. After the parts of your mind have finished with their dialogue, you've created a perception. And that's the third phase. You've created your very own perception of reality. So remember, sensory input, pre-interpretation, followed by an internal narrative, and voila, perception created. So the question you need to ask yourself is, but why does this mean that reading hurts you? Well, let me ask you this. Really try and answer this question. If you're reading a book about golf, what is the perception you're creating in your mind? Well, your golf is not good enough. You've affirmed on a subconscious level that your golf is not good enough. And the stronger your internal frame of reference, the stronger the implementation of your golf not being good enough. And this happens with any type of self-improvement book. Every time you read a book on self-improvement, wealth creation, love and relationships, whatever it happens to be, every time you do that, you're affirming that you're not good enough in those subjects. And when you affirm to yourself negative things like that, how do you think that will affect your self-confidence? Well, it affects it badly because you see, self-confidence is not usually isolated to one area only. It infiltrates into other areas of life as well, even ones where there were no self-confidence issues. It's a bit like peeing in a bath. Before you know it, you're sitting in yellow water. And guess what? When you're low in self-confidence, you become generally more fearful. So what's the answer? Well, if you've made it this far, congratulations. You've just achieved stage one. Now, you're now aware of what's going on inside your head. Stage two, well, in fact, before I give you stage two, let me just explain. We have two worlds going on. Our very own internal world, where thoughts happen, and an external world, where results are produced. You read a book on golf so that your internal world could be better equipped to get better results in the external world. However, there needs to be a way that you can bridge the two things together, the two worlds together. Otherwise, all that you've done is that what you've learned stays with you and only you. Does that make sense? The way you traverse both the internal and external is by taking action. No action means that your external world doesn't get affected at all. The world where all the results are. All you've done is fill a bit more of your internal memory storage. So what's the solution? Well, if you don't read at all, then you're depriving yourself of knowledge that could greatly impact your life. So that's not the answer. But reading and not traversing the two worlds is an even worse crime on your life. You see, you've been given a wonderful opportunity to live a full and rich human life. Don't squander it. Think about the opportunity you've got. I mean, you could come back as a cat or a mouse. It's not really that good. This opportunity is real. Don't forget it. The solution is use the information you have read. I know, what a fucking concept. Read and do something that makes sense, which resonates with you. Take an action on what you've just read. So I promised you earlier some tips on how you can absorb information more effectively. So let's do that. Because that's really what the end goal is, isn't it? That's what you want. You want to improve certain aspects of your life. So here's tip number one. I believe in simplicity. Making things complicated doesn't work at all. So when reading a book, keep a pencil nearby. Box any sections that you can do that day and underline others for later action. Start with small, easy to do things so that you form a habit. So box up the easy to do things and underline the harder things. And in just 3 short months, you'll already notice some positive changes in your life. Tip number 2, try to delegate something from what you've read. Don't do everything yourself. There is only one of you and only 24 hours in a day. That's 1x24. Successful people build businesses by creating iterations of themselves so that there are more people and more hours in a living day. When you can start delegating, you're creating a 48-hour day, a 96-hour day, a 240-hour day. Imagine you had 240 hours in a day. Come on, what are you waiting for? The amount of time you have is only limited by the amount of delegating you're not doing. Tip number 3, be accountable to yourself. Buy yourself a journal of good quality so you can record your progress. Now, I run an accountability program where you're accountable to me, but that's expensive and much cheaper if you just get yourself a nice journal to record your progress. One of the ways I suggest you record in your journal is by remembering internal world, external world, bridge and bin. Okay? Your internal world is where your thoughts, ideas and plans are. Your external world is where the results of your thoughts show themselves. And your bridge is the collection of actions that you will take, to turn your thoughts in here into the results out there. And your bin is where the stuff that you can't use is. Okay, I hope that's worked for you. Good luck, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and all that kind of stuff before you go. You'll also find some of my favorite books listed in the description below. So thanks for watching the channel, and remember, it's quite useful to watch these things more than once. That way it really cements it in your own mind. So good luck with your progress, and comment below. Let me know how things are getting on. And for now, goodbye.